You ever get bored with the same boring cookie cutter furniture? Well, stay tuned. Maverick MacGyver is going to do some DIY with some unused solar modules. Up first, we'll build a side table using an old 40-watt module harvested from an array that was, I don't know, 25 or 30 years old. Let's get started. In the case of using EMT, the self-tappers aren't really effective because the self-tapping screw wants to roll off the edges of the pipe, making it difficult to get the holes lined up. I'll show you a technique for making this a little bit easier to do. To build a table using pipe, you're going to need to cut the pipe to length in various locations. There's a couple different saws I'd recommend. To start out with, maybe just a manual saw. If you're just going to do 1 or 2 cuts, this is totally fine. If you're trying to do something with a relatively heavy steel or some kind of strange material, a diamond cutoff wheel on your grinder would be great. And then finally, my most common saw is a hacksaw, cordless, with a metal cutting blade. One of these 3 saws should do the trick. For every project you're using, appropriate cutting blade is advised because you can't use a wood cutting blade on metal. It just won't work. To assemble the tools, we're going to need a drill and a driver. Find the appropriate drill bit for what size self-tapping screws. I'm going to use these small, I think this is a number 10, but it might be an 8. I can't remember, but this is what we're using. And then also to attach the screws, I'll use a driver. I've got this little bit that allows me to make turns with the tip for tight spaces. It's kind of handy. So I recommend these 2. I've made some measurements and I've got some marks. Make that mark a little bit bigger because I can't quite see it. So I'm going to cut the pipe to length. I'm going to use the Sawzall. It's faster. So, and I'm going to keep the fence up against the work so the blade doesn't jump. Okay, good. Well, there's your theory. Okay, 1 cut down. I don't know how many to go. To make the intersections of the pipe connect together, I'm going to use these little L brackets. First, we have to mark the location where the L bracket needs to go. So we'll get a Sharpie, mark the location. And even if you're using self-tapping screws, you'll want to pre-drill because it's really difficult to keep this self-tapping screw on the top of this curve. So I'm going to use a center punch. This could also just be a nail and a hammer. And so I'm going to center punch the hole. Now we can attach our brackets using a driver. One down. I don't know how many to go. Okay, now we attach the last bracket. So I'm going to use the driver and the bracket. I've got the screws ready. Go ahead and magnetically stick a screw in there. Go on the outside, I think. All right, get that in there. All right, get that. I'll tighten them all up. Once I get them set in there, great. Okay, screw and bracket. Lining up the holes. Okay, great. I'm gonna adjust this. This thing has like a little universal joint built into it, so I can actually make the turn. You'll see in a second what I mean. I can get in here a little bit closer. Yeah, make the turn. There we go. Good. A little power. Now this last one, make the turn. Oops. Okay. I'm going to tighten that up. First two. And the last one. Okay, great. All 8 corners are finished. We got this one, and we have one of the panel and the other 2 legs. Now we're ready. At the end of the EMT, we might have some rough edges because we cut the pipe to length. What I'm going to use is a male adapter. So normally this is used in electrical work to connect this pipe with wires in it into an electrical panel. I'm going to use this male adapter with a plastic bushing. I'm going to install the male adapter and then tighten it up so that now when the table is sitting on the floor, this plastic will be touching the floor and I don't have as much of a chance to scratch the floor surface. I'll do that all the way around. Luckily I have some extras from my spares and we'll be ready for the finish of the table. This little side table is complete. We have our legs installed and this little 40-watt panel. I think this panel is probably 40 years old actually. I'll have to do some research and I'll put it in the screen or notes below. We've used a few pieces of 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch EMT electrical metal tubing and some fittings, some self-tapping screws, and now we have a completed 12-inch wide and 48-inch long side table made from an old solar panel. Recycling at its best, my friends. Not bad for an afternoon. The next solar panel table is going to be like a coffee table. This panel is 100 watts or so, 110. Oh, let me check. Maybe it's 130. Yeah, 120 watt Kyocera. It's got an X on it, so that means it's bad. So, convert it to a table. It's a nice polycrystalline. Has a blue texture color. A blue texture color. Has a blue color and a nice texture in the way the cells are made. This one has an old school, really heavy frame. In the case of these older Kyoceras, the frame is actually quite solid. You can see that the vertical, the long side, has a frame going all the way down, and then the short side also has a frame. Some modules, the short side frame is not quite as strong as the long side. Most panels are actually clamped from the long side, but that was a short-term trend. Most manufacturers went back to being able to clamp the panel from the short side or the long side. In the case of this table design, I've chosen some three rod, whatever you want to call these, hairpin legs with 3 rods. Now these are 1/2 inch rods. I don't know that I need such strong legs because who's going to be standing on this glass solar panel, but you know, just to be sure. Now in theory I could actually mount these legs right on the edge of the frame, and I think that would probably be all right. I don't quite have, well, I think I might have enough room here to drill a hole through the hairpin leg has a hole in it already, so I could drill a hole right in the frame and actually attach these legs directly with some self-tapping screws. I can get enough material here to do 4 of the 5 holes on this leg. I wouldn't really do this corner one because of the, well, let's see if I can feel in there. Yeah, there's a screw here, and so that corner one would interfere with that screw. But I think 4 of the 5 holes would be quite adequate to hold these legs on. And then we have to be concerned about the side profile. It looks nice. Maybe that's what we'll do. My original intention with this coffee table design was to use a pre-cut size 1/2 inch or 5/8 or whatever this is, 24 by 48 inch piece of pre-cut plywood, which I got from the home center, and it'll fit in there. This plywood will fit without being cut, except down here on the end I have the junction box in the way of the plywood. This is 24 by 48 inch piece of plywood. The solar panel is 28 by 56, and so I can get the plywood to fit this way, and then I have to make room for this junction box by cutting out a little piece here to accommodate that. And then my plan is to attach the legs. The hairpin legs will be attached directly to the plywood. Like in that previous clip, I could actually attach these hairpin legs to the solar panel in this case because these frames are so nice. In most cases you can't, and so this is, you know, how I do it, and this is what I'm doing. Okay, great. Okay, let's see, about 3 inches there, about 3 inches there. Okay, great. The plywood is now inside of the frame. Let me go find some 1/2 inch screws to attach the hairpin legs to the base of the table. One down, 3 to go. Mid-century modern meets high tech. Look at that. Quite modern, quite industrial. Great. Just great. Now let's build a big desk using a 315 watt solar panel. I'm going to build this desk using 2 simple industrial wire shelves available from the home center. The shelves are about 30 inches tall and they're 14 by 24. I'm going to use 2 of these shelves to support the solar panel, which will just sit on the top of the shelves. First thing I'm going to do is take some long rod, pop out this plastic cap. Then I'm going to decide how long I want the total shelf to be. So in this case, these shelves come to be 30 inches long. And you know, I want the actual shelf to be 28 inches long. So I'm going to cut off a little bit of this piece and then reassemble it. Then I'm going to take the plastic cap and put back on the end so that I don't scratch the bottom of the solar panel. I don't think it's that important, but you know, you don't want to. And then reassemble the shelf piece. And then snap on these plastic things at the right place. Let me see where it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down. 3, 4, 5, 6 down. Yeah, and rinse and repeat. This is 4 posts and 3 shelves, so just give me a second, I'll finish this up. All right, now I've got one of the 2 shelves made. I cut the tops off, so about 2 inches off the vertical. I want the desk to be 28 inches tall. So finish this one's finished up, open the other box and get it ready. Cut them off the legs, assemble the shelves, and move on to the next step. Okay, great. Yeah, we got room for an extra printer, some ink. With the shelves, we're able to store items needed in the office. So this is going to be a great setup. And just like that, shazam! An ultra modern, an ultra cool solar panel desk, fully decorated and outfitted with modern black on silver equipment. I'm ready to go. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this solar panel making episode. If you did like the video, press the like button, subscribe. I'm going to put more videos like this. If you would like to see a particular type of table made, art or not, and leave a comment below. I appreciate you spending some time with me. Have a good one.